So we're back. Gone through the vaporizer. Anthony here is like, that was one of the worst things I've ever had happen to me. Please don't do that again. So I'm going to do it again. So we're back. Set up our lockdown. I got my legs right, hips across, my hips down, and I start sitting out. As I go to sit out, Anthony takes the only thing he's got to try and stop me from sitting this way, to like control my head and my posture, right? Because he's always trying to affect my posture, is he's going to use this hand. That's going to prove to be a fatal error, okay? If someone gives you this arm, you make them pay for it. So as I'm going to sit back and take this, yeah, he starts trying to push my head. Exactly. So I reach, control the wrist, push the arm behind the back. Once the arm is behind the back, he's in a world of trouble. Because from here, let's rotate. See, we're locked down, so it's hard to rotate. We're here. He's essentially given me the Kimura. He grabbed my head, I just caught the wrist, and I plant his hand behind his back. From here, I pinch over the top, figure four grip, and I touch his head to his skull. Yep, that's a tap. All right, if they're super flexible and you reach the base of their spine, just extend the arm out. Yep. And it'll separate the shoulder. Okay? Let's say this guy's really tough, really strong arm, and he extends that arm straight. So from here, we just motorcycle grip. I just turn his thumb the other way. Yep. Straight arm bar. Okay? So there's a straight arm lock. Remember, we just go in the opposite direction of the thumb. I control the thumb. Whichever the direction the thumb faces, I just go the opposite direction. Once we get to blue belt, wrist lock. Right here. I can even go wrist lock, single arm, extension, back through here. Start cranking the head. I get set up. Nice little guillotine here. And as always, let's say he brings that arm. He's like, no, none of that. Brings that arm back over. I go right back to the leg. Remember, toes out. Okay? I've created here, in the systems term, as a true dilemma. All right? There's actually, it's more like a quad lemma. There's like 4 different areas that I can go to right here. But I can always revert back. That's why I always keep this foot through the lockdown. He's locked down until I say so, and no other time. Okay? So, the way that we're going to get breakthroughs as we advance from white to blue, all the way as some of us are trying to work our way up to black belt, is your first areas of attack are not going to be successful. You're going to have to attack from multiple vectors and from a controlled position. It's that adage that we always say, position before submission. But we also want to have strong controlling pressure in that control. So I want it to be very tight. This lockdown is very tight all the way through. From the first moment that I set it in, I don't intend on him getting out until I let him. So I'm keeping that control, this extended foot, all the way through this entire sequence, all the way through this subsystem that was largely popularized by Eddie Bravo with 10th Planet. And so through the whip down, all the way through our arm attacks, to the key locks, to the wrist locks, back to the vaporizer, my toes are engaged, my feet are engaged, and I truly have him locked down. We'll look at one other attack next. I want to present another attack here from the same position we were just in lockdown. I want to make sure that you're aware, even if you don't go for all of these attacks, some will be more high percentage of others depending on the angle, the difference in height, what your flexibility will allow. Some people, really big guys, have trouble going for that vaporizer because there's just so much body there. Maybe their arms aren't long enough to reach the foot. But I want to make sure that everyone has at least some sort of attack that they can go for, depending on the resistance our opponent is giving us. Okay, so we're back into the same position that we were in before. Scoot over here. So, top lockdown, leg across, everything's the same. That's why it's a system, right? We're always trying to work back to these same positions and have multiple attacks depending on where we go. So let's say as soon as I drop my hips down, Anthony starts hugging my head, right? He grabs my head here, okay? So from here, what I want to do is start getting my posture back, and I'm going to C-cup at his tricep. And I'm going to pull my head out of the pocket and just slide it over. We're setting up a head and arm triangle. Again, my feet are still locked down. Never let it go until the game is finished. Okay, so I figure 4. I like to walk my fingers. I don't want this loose. I need to have what's known as double closure. So I want pressure on both carotid arteries. I walk my hand all the way out. I figure 4 grip like I'm going to do a rear naked choke. I bring it in, I extend forward, and I squeeze up. So I pull my arm up and squeeze. Okay? I'm driving into him, squeezing, and I'm rotating my left hand and my right elbow towards the sky. Okay? And that really does not feel good. And I'm trying to push his own arm into his neck as I do this with my weight up. Okay? If you feel like you're squeezing too hard, let's just move over the top. Come in, maybe you can get a howdy doody choke here. If there's nothing there, let's just move back to the vaporizer. One more time. It's always there as long as you keep it locked down. That's why it's so important to keep that lockdown the entire time. That way, the leg is always vulnerable, and if he stops thinking about it because he's defending up here, boom, we move right to it, grab the toes and finish. All right, guys, and that's our certified preview of the lockdown.